Let me just say, Happy New Year. I hope that wherever you are, you got to watch America's ball drop. A custom that makes more sense this year than ever before, because if I had to place America somewhere on the gender spectrum right now, we would firmly be at straight white man severely overcompensating for having just one testicle. Now, you might be thinking, opening with a testicle joke on what I think is supposed to be a women's sports news show? Is that the right choice? Well, I wondered the same thing, but this is the New Year's episode, so we're obviously going to be counting down the top moments from the last year. But it's also important to acknowledge our mistakes. And so this is me reminding you of our biggest blunder from 2025, which was the Boston expansion team of the NWSL opening their existence with a bad name and an even worse commercial that exclusively made the same balls joke over and over again. But everyone in sports knows it's not how you start, it's how you finish. The team in Boston changed their name from Boss Nation to Boston Legacy, which is boring, but at least doesn't sound straight out of one of those alpha male podcasts. And I brought this opening monologue that was also about balls and had a lot of ball jokes full circle. Wrapped it up quite nicely, I think. Welcome to the Weekly. As promised, this is the New Year's episode, so we absolutely must count down my favorite moments from 2025. Even though I know for a fact that you got no less than 6 similar lists in your email inbox over the last few days. But who even checks their email over the holidays anyway? Let's start the count at number 10. PWHL +2. As the whole world has learned recently, hockey players are really hot. In fact, given the success of heated rivalry, I think we might even be able to conclude that gay hockey players are big business. The PWHL is no exception to either of those things. While the player movement from expansion was a bummer, a lot of players left clubs where they had big fan bases. Adding 2 new teams to the league still makes the top 10 because of the growth and success that we're seeing for women's hockey. Because it's about time. The 2 new teams in Seattle and Vancouver give the league the opportunity to double their fan base now that they have an established presence on the West Coast where they didn't before with any of the original 6 teams. And those fans have certainly not disappointed. In their very first game, the Vancouver Golden Knights sold out the Pacific Coliseum, drawing a regular PWHL home venue record crowd of 14,958. And about 1 week later, the Seattle Torrent said, "Hold my beer," and one-upped that record. They hosted 16,014 fans at Climate Pledge Arena, which is also home to the Seattle Storm. Just a fun fact for you guys playing at home. That number also sets the record for attendance at any professional women's hockey game in the US. The biggest achievement of these 2 expansion teams, though, is that their early success has all but guaranteed more growth. Seeing what they've accomplished, the league is set to expand again next season and could add as many as 4 new teams. PWHL, onward and upward. The number 9 spot. The People's World Series. God, no, I'm not talking about the MLB. Read the room. If you don't know, let me put you on. The College Softball World Series is always one of the very best sporting events of the year. I can't really explain why. All I know is that it sucks you right in. First of all, Texas versus Texas Tech. One thing that I know about Texas is that everyone from Texas loves Texas more than anything. But also, everyone from Texas hates every other school from Texas that isn't their team more than anything. It's very complicated, but it makes for great television. Let me set the scene. Both teams defied the odds to get to the championship. Texas was the 6th seed, while Texas Tech was the 12th seed. Both teams hung their hats on having star pitchers. Texas's sophomore Tegan Cavan, who won the most outstanding player after not allowing a single earned run in almost 32 innings pitched, while Texas Tech star Nigeri Kennedy is both unhittable from the mound and rakes from the plate. In the end, the Longhorns came out on top in a best-of-3 series that gave us 3 really great games. The other thing about this finals is it was also a little refreshing that this final didn't feature Oklahoma for the first time in a while, even though it was played in Oklahoma. Not at all a dig at Oklahoma, just nice to switch it up once in a while, you know? And absolutely no disrespect to Patty Gasso and everything that she has built in Norman and across the sport entirely. You are really doing the thing, mama. Coming in at number 8 is literally everything about Alona Mar, the star that you are. In 2025, Alona Mar was the light that we all needed. She is funny and caring and unapologetic, all at a time when people were going out of their way to be horrible just because they could. That was really in 2025. I don't think enough people realize just how much Alona Mar had put on her shoulders this year, though, how many people she inspired and how much good she put into the world. So I'd like to give her flowers. And I think that she enjoys being that for people, but at the same time, I would really like us to stop forcing every female athlete to be a role model for kids, to have to be perfect and inspiring and clean cut. There's this narrative in women's sports where every team and every athlete just exists to inspire little girls. Inspiring little girls is great and so important, and little girls should be whatever it is that they want to be. I believe that. But women's sports is so much more than that. These athletes are real people with lives out in the world. This isn't a product for children like Bluey, where it needs to be warm and educational and full of life lessons, but surprisingly enjoyable for all ages. It's sports. So let's leave all of that energy in 2025 and just say thank you, Alona Mar. Number 7 happened so early in 2025, I bet you forgot. But I still think about it all the time. And it's this. 5'8" Courtney Williams putting a block on 6'9" Brittany Griner. It's art, it's poetry, it's captivating display of athleticism in its purest form. And it makes me smile every time I think of it. Special shout out to the inaugural season of Unrivaled. Also, it gave us a lot of memorable moments like this because it was the perfect environment for players to have fun and show their very best stuff and their personalities. We will call all of Unrivaled's inaugural season number like 7.5 on the top 10 list as well. In at number 6 is Sweet Baby Rose. As a longtime admirer of Rose Lavelle's left foot, her game-winning goal in the NWSL Championship this year both settled and awoke something in me. Primal, I fear. The final this year was a feel-good story, as it somehow often tends to be in the NWSL. I'm not really sure how that keeps happening. Gotham once again underdogged their way to hoisting the trophy all the way from the 8th seed. The second time that they have done that in the last 3 seasons. Everyone loves an upset. Rose scored the game winner, and Emily Sonnet had what could be considered the save of the game on the other end, and the two of them winning a championship together just feels right to me. Feels good, feels natural. The other side of this, of course, was the Washington Spirit, making their second straight championship appearance and falling short for the second straight time. Which, hear me out, I think could be a good thing. I think that of the two possible outcomes for the Spirit here, losing is more likely to entice Trinity Rodman to return to the Spirit next season than winning would have. Losing 2 years in a row leaves a bad taste in your mouth. With a loss, Trinity Rodman undeniably has unfinished business in this league in the most gnawing, persistent, and unshakable way. If anything gets her to stay in the NWSL, it's that. Because it certainly won't be the money. At number 5, we say bye-bye, Big Three. Now that we know that it's over, I absolutely cannot move on from 2025 without acknowledging the Big Three and everything they did to make women's basketball so fun to watch on ESPN. Elle Duncan is departing to head up live sports for Netflix, but her chemistry and banter with Andrea Carter and Chiney Gumake will never be replicated. I truly never understood the way men talk about football's college game day until the Big Three. The other day, Drea and Chiney said goodbye to Elle on her last broadcast for ESPN, and it was heart-wrenching. They all cried on air, and I have to move on to the number 4 moment, or I will cry on air as well. Number 4, Nafisa Collier goes scorched earth. It was just a regular old Tuesday when notifications everywhere lit up with Collier's remarks in her exit interview with the media. May we never forget her quoting Kathy's instant classics like, the players should be on their knees thanking me. And without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. Talking about Caitlin Clark. Girl, please. Collier mentioned it directly in her prepared statement, but truly the worst thing that ever happened to the WNBA is unrivaled. Not because it's a business competitor, but because building and running her own league taught Fee exactly what it takes to do Kathy's job. She said that herself. And it also proved that she was not doing it well. It also proved that you could be the boss without being rude and condescending and self-important. Surprise! The number 3 moment is All-Star Weekend. May she live on forever. All-Star Weekend this past July was hit after hit after hit. It was the textbook definition of work hard, play harder. I've done the math, and I truly cannot calculate when our girls slept over those 4 days. In terms of sports moments, and fresh off of moment 4, we must start with the All-Star game itself. We knew from the jump that while this weekend was fun and an opportunity to celebrate all they had accomplished so far, this was always going to be a business trip. The players presented a unified front, rolling so deep into their scheduled CBA negotiation meeting with the league that it was standing room only, and doubling down with warm-up shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us," during the entire pregame coverage of All-Star Game. Still, it seems the message was not received by the league. Confusing. Not only did they stand on business, but they fed us every single night. I miss those days. All-Star Weekend launched the Studbuds into pop culture relevance. Their behind-the-scenes access to all the hottest parties made all of us feel like we were there, while also scaring players off and getting people into trouble. Exactly the way media should be, I guess. It was a perfect balance of work and fun and celebration and advocacy for change and debauchery. And where else can you get a potent cocktail like that other than the WNBA? At this point, you must know the 2 biggest moments that we haven't talked about yet. So none of this should be a surprise to you. My number 2 moment is Big 2-2 A'ja Wilson supremacy. The level of dominance that A'ja Wilson has imposed on the entire WNBA is honestly frightening to my core. Where else is there for her to go? What is left for her to win? What more could she prove? How long will she strike fear into the hearts of opponents everywhere? Those are all questions that I cannot answer. What I can do is glaze her the exact amount that she deserves. This season, A'ja Wilson did something that, in the history of professional basketball, has only ever been done by her and Hakeem Olajuwon. She swept the league's biggest awards, winning League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, co-winner, technically, please don't yell at me, and Finals MVP. Damn. And if you want to put her dominance into even more context, beyond the physical trophies she collected, we can do that too. That's right. There is more. Wilson is the only player ever, WNBA or MNBA, to earn the aforementioned League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP, along with the regular season scoring title and a championship. Oh, yeah. She also released the hottest signature shoe of the year, the A1, was on the cover of Time magazine as the Athlete of the Year, and was named to the Met Gala host committee. And things are pretty good for her in her personal life as well, in case you weren't jealous enough already. She is in what might be the only wholesome straight relationship with a very supportive man. Yeah, she found a good dude too. There is absolutely nothing this woman can't do, I swear. And finally, my top moment of the year was Paige Bueckers going out on top. It's no secret that I'm a UConn fan and a Paige Bueckers glazer. Even if you hate UConn, and I know a lot of women's basketball fans out there do, you kind of can't hate Paige Bueckers. She's such a good person, you have to at least be a little happy for her. The prophecy was fulfilled through the power of friendship, no less. I know that nearly all of you know this already, but allow me to wax poetic for a moment. Paige Bueckers was, and still is, one of the most hyped and well-known recruits for UConn prior to ever wearing the uniform. She was the number one recruit in the class of 2020, a class which included Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and Cameron Brink, let us not forget, and had already built a bit of a prolific online following as a teenager, before she ever got to Storrs, Connecticut. She won National Player of the Year as a freshman, the only women's player ever to do that, by the way. She had multiple Final Four appearances. She is third all-time on the UConn scoring list, and even before the 2025 tournament was the all but official number one draft pick. But she had yet to lift the one trophy that eluded her, a national championship. After losing a couple seasons to injury, she took her last shot and returned for a fifth year. Had she not won the national championship in 2025, she likely would have been the greatest UConn player ever to not win a national title. A description that would have followed her the rest of her life, not just her career. And also is like the very definition of a backhanded compliment, by the way. Seeing her hug Gino as she came out of that title game, seeing how much love her and her teammates have for each other, what they accomplished together, and seeing her finally accomplish her biggest goal, that is a top sports moment of the year. All right, that's it. That's 2025, wrapped. It's done, dusted, we move. Now, I have one piece of breaking 2026 news that I need to get into episode 1 here, because it's going to be a little bit of an appetizer for episode 2 dropping on Monday, the unrivaled preview. But we need to talk about this. For anyone hoping that 2026 was going to be even marginally better than 2025, which was a dumpster fire, I'm telling you right now to manage your expectations. Bad News wasted no time making an appearance. On 2026 Day 1, it was announced that Nafisa Collier is going to miss the entire unrivaled season. And that is best case scenario. She will be out 4 to 6 months as she undergoes surgery on both of her ankles. 6 months would, move into the WNBA season, provided we even have one. I actually had noticed a lack of fee content from Unrivaled, but I didn't think much of it with all the other ways that they've been feeding us. So I'd like to say, well done, content team. Diversion successful. Knowing this is where we ended up sheds some light on the entire end of the W season, I think. The postseason was marred by injury, several of which we're still feeling the effects of. The latest here with Fee is proof of that, but also a reminder that Satu Sabali will miss the Unrivaled season due to ongoing concussion symptoms from the finals in October. Still, these injuries are the manifestation of poor officiating in the league. That's not a secret. That's something that everyone from the players to the coaches to the fans were very vocal about. And the league's response, rather than to make change or institute better training and policy moving forward or to protect anyone from injury in any way or admit any fault, instead they chose to fine Cheryl Reeve and all the other coaches who spoke out in support of her. Great job, guys. You fixed it. All right, now let's chat a little. I want to hear from you about something. Let's shift to college basketball. The top of the table has been relatively unchanged for quite a few weeks now, kind of since the season started, really minimal change. But new year, new rules, I guess. New Year's Day saw quite a few upsets. Finally, New Year lives up to being a great sports day for people who don't do college football. And it was really good basketball. I want to know which game you think was the biggest upset and why. Which was it the most surprising? That matters the most? Biggest long-term effects is going to play down the road. What's your reason? All right, I want to hear from you. I want to know. Here's what we have: Georgia Tech, who hung around all game until they could force overtime, eventually pulling off a 95-90 upset over number 18 Notre Dame. For some reason, Georgia Tech seems to just have Notre Dame's number. These are always good games between the two of them, and they tend to have some implications come ACC tournament time. So that's the first one. Then we have the Fighting Illini upset number 7 Maryland. Maryland did have a chance to tie it at the end, but it was a really tough look. I do think that Illinois could be good for a couple more upsets this season, honestly. They're a team to keep your eye on in the Big Ten. They're like kind of for real-ish. The most convincing upset came from Washington, who is clearly looking to get their ranking back from earlier in the season. They were in control from the jump over number 6 Michigan, who were just never able to get back in it. Michigan fell 52-64, but maybe more importantly than the final score in that game is that this is the second game in a row that Michigan has looked far from their typical form. That could be important. And in the nightcap, number 5 LSU proved the doubters, me, correct. Putting up 100 points on kids at the park is not as impressive as it seems on paper. For the first time this season, the Tigers faced some real competition in number 11 Kentucky. And they couldn't handle that smoke, okay? That's actually an exaggeration. It was a really tight game for all 40 minutes. It was back and forth. And Kentucky gave LSU the lead with seconds left by fouling Michaela Williams on the three-point line. Literally the number one thing you can't do, the coach's nightmare. But then they hit an extremely unlikely, well-contested three at the other end to seal it with an 80-78 victory over LSU. So what do you think? Give me your analysis below. I want to hear. And that's what I got for you. That's episode 1. Episode 1 of The Weekly. The Weekly is a new show dropping episodes every Monday where I, EKLY, will break down anything you missed and everything you might need to know in the world of women's sports. We will definitely joke. We might cry on occasion. There will be a lot of learning along the way, mostly by me. Probably some friendship. maybe. And I have a lot of thoughts about community, but it's probably a little early for that. I mean, we just met. Basically, what I'm trying to say, without sounding like an essential oils multi-level marketing scheme, is this: stick around. Let's build women's sports media that is for the fans first. The fans who sustained women's sports when no one else would listen, the fans who welcome each other with open arms, and the fans who really, really love this thing and want to share it with anyone who will listen. That's me, and I hope that that's you. If it is you, please help us spread the word. Bring more people along with us. Share this video with your friends. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media. Share those videos with your friends. And you can visit our website, which is linked below. There you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter, where you'll get all this news and more straight to your inbox. This has been The Weekly, and I'll see you next week.